Welcome to Family Matters. Family Matters is a program initiated for every single member of the family. It's dedicated to all of us who are trying to live a very good family in a generation where families are attacked both from the right and from the left. Family Matters deals with matters of the husband, the wife, children, engaged couples. Today's episode sounds very weird. I called it How to Ruin Your Life, How to Destroy Your Married Life, or advices on how to make your marital life be very bad. The reason I decided to use this, because I have been talking a lot about the positives. But I thought to myself, maybe if I make the negatives clear, maybe we will learn better. So I want to tell you maybe 10 or 11 reasons, tips, ways, methods on how to destroy your marriage and your marital life. The first one is be selfish. Put yourself first. You want to kill your marriage? Always think of yourself. Don't think of your wife. Don't think of him. Think how much you want. Think how much fun you need. Think how much money you want. Think how much car you want. Think how much leisure and comfort and golfing and whatever, and forget about her needs and his needs. So number one, to destroy your marriage life, put yourself first. And by that, I mean, it doesn't matter how loving, how caring your spouse is. It doesn't matter. You are more important. Doesn't matter. Your spouse is unimportant. By this, you will be very successful in destroying your marriage. Number two, focus on the flaws. Focus on the defects. Maybe your wife is perfect in most things, but she is not organized. I want you to focus that she is not organized. Forget that she is kind, she's a great mother, she's a great cook, she's very helpful, she picks you up, but because she's not organized, only talk about that. Focus on her negatives. Good for you. You are now about to kill your marriage. Focus on the flaws, I mean, convince yourself that it's really your spouse is doing that to tick you off. She's disorganized because she wants to annoy you. He is, for example, overspending because he wants to annoy you. Don't think of him as a good father, a kind man, a protective, a defender. Don't think of all of that. Just think of one defect and keep exaggerating, keep trumping on it, keep telling him how bad he is on this. You are about to kill your marriage. Good for you. Number three, don't ever forgive. Refuse to forgive. You are always right, after all. Maybe your wife will say, I'm sorry, but no, you are far better to accept anything but forgiveness. How can you accept forgiveness and you are much better than her? No, don't ever forgive. By forgiving, you will be weak, right? By forgiving, he will understand that he can step upon you. So don't forgive. Always hold on the mistake and always do not ever talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness will make things get better, But of course, you don't want things to get better. Refuse to forgive and keep grudges and holding on them, because if you do not, your spouse will always try to make the mistake again. So you will always hold on the grudges. So number one, put yourself first. Number two, focus on the flaws and the defects. Number three, assume the worst and always think of, number three is refuse to forgive. Refuse to forgive. I want you to always think, when you are in a situation and your husband have apologized, I want you to tell him, I'm not going to accept your apology. Every time you keep asking for forgiveness, that's it. I'm not accepting. Good for you, ma'am. You are about to destroy your marriage. Number four, assume always that your spouse is doing everything to annoy you. Assume the worst. I don't want you to give excuses. After all, if you give excuses, your marriage will be better. But of course, you don't want that. You want to kill your marriage. If you want to ruin your marriage, I want you to please always assume the worst. Don't accept that this could be a mistake, or he didn't mean it, or any excuse. Don't accept excuses. After all, you want your marriage to be destroyed. So number one, put yourself first and be selfish and always worry about your needs, not her needs. Two, focus on her mistakes and always blow them, zoom in them, focus on them, and make them appear that her mistake far worse than her good things. Number three, assume the worst and always do not believe excuses. Number four, refuse to forgive, because she's always going to make the mistake again. So how can you forgive? You should never forgive, because if you forgive, your marriage will be better, and you don't want that, right? I received several questions, and I'll start to talk about a couple of the questions. Any question that deals with parenting, I'll leave it to another episode. My husband does not like the idea of having a joint bank account. He tries to control my account. How do I get him to get a joint account if he doesn't want to? So I can't say this is one of the things that will ruin your marriage, but it's an important factor. After all, if you both share the most intimate things, which is your bodies, who cares about money? You have shared intimate relationship, physical relationship. Why would you worry about two accounts on one account? What are you scared of? You already trust him with your body and you trust her with yours. So now you can't trust her with your money? It's completely schizophrenic. It's completely ununderstandable. To tell you the truth is, in my opinion, it's unchristian to really do not trust each other with money, because money should be the least we worry about in marriage, because we are thinking of far important things than just money. So money should be under your feet. Money should be a way to live better, but money should not be a way to control the other. I want to control your account. I want to control how much you spend. I want to control how much you get. I'm getting more money than you. And at the end, believe me, you are going to muddy the water. And at the end, you will have a very unpeaceful marriage. I want to get back to these questions because some of them will come back. So, how to ruin your marriage? Number one, put yourself first, be selfish. Two, focus on his or her mistakes. Three, assume the worst and do not think of the excuses. Four, refuse to give. Number five, do not respect or be disrespectful. Because if you respect, your marriage will be so good. If you respect your wife and your wife respects you, both of you will be great, and you will go back and forth, and you will be having a great marriage. But because you do not respect each other, you are not going to have a great marriage. And it seems to me that's what we are after today. So refuse to respect. Train yourself to look only at perfection. And of course, God forbid, your husband cannot be perfect, your wife cannot be perfect. So how can you respect less than perfect? Apparently, you did not marry Jesus, and he did not marry Saint Mary. So there is no perfection. However, you want to ruin your marriage, correct? If that's what you're after, to destroy your marriage, please disrespect your husband. The more you talk to him down, the more you ignore his opinions, the more you speak down to him in front of kids or behind them, you are going to destroy your marriage. And the same for you, my friend. If you disrespect your wife, you are doing a great job in destroying your marriage. Don't come crying after a couple of years. Because if you have been disrespectful to your wife, there is very little going to remain in your marriage to salvage. So the next point is number 6, and that's where several questions came. So I'm going to read them, and I'm very happy that people are trusting the system to send anonymous questions, because as you know, I wouldn't know who sent anything. Since our second child, our sex life has progressively declined. She is never in the mood. It's always the kids. The kids need the shower, the kids need to eat. Where are we taking the kids to eat? I feel like I'm just on the sideline for her. I even asked my parents to come babysit so we can have a nice date out and enjoy quality time. And the whole time she is calling to make sure that the kids are okay. So the second question, which is very similar, my wife and I do not argue as often and have a fairly good relationships. Thank God. However, I feel like my sex life with my wife is more of a chore than a pleasure or enjoyment. There is no desire. I have tried doing many romantic things, but she always declines. So number 6 actually is about that. What we call remain aloof or remain cold or refuse intimacy. You want to destroy your marriage, refuse intimacy in marriage. You as a wife, you can take as many excuses as you want, your period, your headache, your kids, but at the end of the day, you are only going to hurt your marriage. Do not get upset when your husband gets angry, gets stubborn, gets very aggressive, and you don't know what's wrong. No, you are the reason. If you want to kill your marriage, please continue refusing intimate relationship with your husband, with your wife. God created this intimate relationship to release sexual tension and to increase bonding and to increase love between the husband and wife. So you as a spouse keep refusing that, you are just on the way to do what you wish to do, destroying your marriage. Good. You're doing a good job destroying your marriage by refusing being intimate. People will say, oh, we are getting old, we have children, I don't have time, I don't have. Fine. Keep making excuses. You are not alone in this relationship. Don't forget, he has needs and you have needs. Your wife has needs also. And some of the men uses this to really punish their wives or punish their husbands, which, believe me, this is ungodly and non-Christian. Because to be a godly couple and a Christian couple, you need to increase your love bonding. And one of the ways to express love is intimate relationship. So you want to destroy your marriage? Be that. Refuse intimate relationship. Make excuses. Tell him I'm not ready. Tell him I have whatever. Tell him the kids are crying. Tell him I'm angry. Tell him I'm headache. Tell him anything. After a while, he will also be uninterested, but it will show in a completely different way. And at that time, you will cry because you have not tried to help yourself and your life. Of course, there are many angles about intimate relationship. Maybe I shouldn't cover them all today, but of course, it has to have some romance. And my two friends who wrote here, they try to make romance. They try to make the real preparation and send the kids with mom and dad and have a nice date and all of that. So, of course, there is other people who really almost rape. And of course, the relationship becomes so ugly and so unhuman. But we are not talking about that. I'm talking about the good, romantic, human, godly driven relationship between husband and wife. So let me summarize again where we reached so far. Number one, this is a very strange episode. I have never done this one before. How to ruin your marital life. Tips on destroying your marriage. Number one, be selfish. Put yourself first. Two, dwell on his or her defects. Three, don't accept excuses, assume the worst. Four, refuse to forgive and always be right. Five, refuse to respect and you are always right and you are perfect. So how can he be perfect? Six, refuse intimacy. Seven, if you want to destroy your marriage, my sister and my brother, always blame. The blame game and the silent game. The blame game is one of the most common reasons on destroying your marriage. Always blame your wife on everything. The kids didn't do good in school, that's her fault. The food is not well done, it's her fault. The organizing the bills, it's his fault. The car is not parked right, it's his fault. The money is less in the bank, it's his fault. He didn't study for the kids, it's his fault. Make it always and always blame. If you keep blaming, you will be in a good track to destroy your marriage. The blame words are fire to make your marriage ashes. The blame game is a fire will end by making your marriage ashes. Go for it. Continue blaming. Keep blaming your wife until your heart contents. Keep blaming your husband on everything you see and you don't see. He didn't close the door right. He didn't put the toilet right. He didn't close the toothpaste. He didn't cap the tablets so the tablets all dropped in the ceiling. He did not close the fridge door. He did not take the kid on the same time that he's supposed to. Keep blaming him, and you will be good in destroying your marriage. Next one, which is number 8, be secretive. You want to destroy your marriage? Don't tell your spouse about anything. Be CIA. Confidentiality is absent. Be a CIA agent. CIA are spies. They cannot tell any secrets. They always have to put a fake identity and a fake causes and a fake reasons. And I call it not CIA, I call it confidentiality is absent, CIA. If you want to kill your marriage, refuse to talk about secrets. Keep them hidden. Don't let your husband anything. Don't let your wife know anything. Keep her in the dark. I know of a story which is very sad. A husband died and his wife didn't know anything, to the extent she didn't know how to spend money to bury him, because he was so secretive about his bank accounts. The poor lady, she knew nothing. Where he puts the money, what's the password, nothing. Is that what we want to be? You want to kill your marriage? Be secretive. I heard of a story, a husband lost his job, but he didn't tell his wife. So he kept spending time every day going to a restaurant or a diner or something until she got a bill that he stays there many hours. Confidentiality is absent. Be secretive, and your marriage will tend to dissolve by itself. You will not need any help from outside. Be secretive, be making everybody knew but your husband. Everybody knows but your wife. Your mom and dad know. Your sister knew, but not your wife. People at work knew, but not your wife. And when your wife knows, what do you think she will feel? You are ending your marriage slowly by slowly. And by the way, when I say you are ruining your marriage, I don't mean separation. I just mean boring, unintelligent, uninteresting type of life. Next point. If you want to destroy your marriage, always argue and make sure you win. If you want to destroy your marriage, when you argue, make sure you always win. Don't let him win. Always win. He will feel very bad, and then your marriage will end. Good for you, my sister. If you want to kill your wife, if you want to kill your marriage, you really stop, give her the chance to win in any argument. Always win. Always try to be the Mr. Perfect. You are always right after all. So when you go into an argument, at the end of the argument, make sure you are coming out of it very winning. And the more you win, the more she will feel bad. Good for you, because eventually your marriage will be destroyed. Is that what you want? I guess. Let me take these 2 questions before I keep going. The next question is, Is there any hope to change after 25 years of marriage? Yes. With God's grace, there is. I know some of us have done 7 out of 7 so far points. They have really did all the bad things I said. They were selfish, they were blaming, they were dwelling on the defects, they were assuming the worst, they refused to forgive, they refused to be intimate, they were disrespectful. And 20 years later, their marriage looks horrible. Everyone in his own, everyone doesn't talk to the other. I think if you want, you can start correcting some of these. The problem is really pride. How can after 25 years, I'm going to tell him I'm sorry? I never said I'm sorry 25 years. I never said you are perfect in 25 years. I never said it's not your fault, it's my fault in 25 years. I never forgave him in 25 years. It's all about today. You want to start today, then things may get corrected. Our problem is we know what we know and we don't want anything to change. So our problem is it's better to stay as we are in a cold, annoying, unhelpful type of relationship. The next question is, what advice would you give to a couple who just survived their first 10 years? At this point, we have been through a lot and are in a sandwich, stressful phase. Should we settle on and accept where we got? Is there a room for improvement? We are in the sandwich, stressful phase. Should we settle on and accept where we got? It's not quite clear, but my understanding from the question, of course, I understand that after 10 years, there are a lot of changes happened. Please don't take a number and think, oh, the first 3 years passed, oh, the 5 years, oh, we're now at the 10 years, oh, this is when divorces occur. Just keep praying, keep moving, and take everything, every single thing I said today and make it the opposite. Don't listen to anything I said today, because I'm only telling you what you shouldn't do. But I'm saying it this way because I know it will strike a nerve. So be careful with what I'm saying. Selfishness increases after 10 years. Intimacy decreases after 10 years. Forgiveness decreases after 10 years. So be watchful to these things. Be ready to be sorry and forgive when you're supposed to be sorry or forgiving. Be careful to be respectful. Be close and be kind, and do not be selfish, and do not pick on the defects of your wife. How can get my husband to listen to these sermons? He mentioned that he finds sermons too long and boring. So I really don't know how can you make him listen, because nobody can make a man listen. And to tell you the truth, with all respect to you, I don't even like that attitude, because you are basically saying, with all respect again, I don't mean any bad thing, that you know better than him. But humility wins. A wife who goes to her husband and say, when was the last time you read the Bible? When was the last time you went to Abuna? When was the last time you heard? Believe me, this will be the last time he will listen to you. But if you want to be humble, oh, I listened to a very nice sermon. I wish you can listen to some minutes of it and tell me your opinion, because there are a few things I didn't understand. And I wish you can explain to me a couple of areas in it, because I think it's very nice, but it's a little bit tough on me. I didn't get everything. Be humble. Humility wins. Pridefulness kills. You want to kill your marriage? Be better than your husband. Tell him he's wrong. Tell him he doesn't listen. Tell him he doesn't read the Bible. Tell him when was the last time? Tell him everything. And believe me, this will be the last time he will do any of these things. Another question. Okay. How is there any hope? No, I think I answered those questions. Thank you. So I expect more questions, but I'll keep going. Let me summarize what I said so far. Again, this is a difficult and tough episode. Every single thing I said shouldn't be followed, but in the same time, unless you really want to destroy your marriage, number one, be selfish. Be selfish. Put yourself first. Always find what is good for you and do it. And don't worry if it's good for them or not. Two, please focus on the defects of your husband or your wife. Exaggerate them. Put a zoom on it. Put a spotlight and talk about their defects and keep talking about them. Three, always assume the bad thing he is doing by intention. No excuses. He means to do this. Four, refuse to forgive. You're always better than that. How can you forgive him? And how long you should forgive him? Don't forgive. Five, refuse to respect because you are a perfect person. A perfect person should not really respect except a perfect person. And God forbid your husband is just a regular man like me or a regular woman like you. So how can you respect him? He's not perfect. Six, do not be intimate, because if you are intimate, your love will increase. But because you are not, things will get separated and become away from each other. Seven, keep blaming your husband. Keep blaming your wife. Don't stop at accepting him on whatever he says. Always tell him, no, it's your fault. Because when you say that, your marriage will be destroyed even faster and more. So please keep blaming. Please keep blaming your husband on everything, because when you keep blaming, you will be ready to destroy your marriage even sooner. Number 8, be secretive. Be secretive, CIA. Confidentiality is absent. Be secretive, meaning don't tell your wife anything. Whatever happens at work stays at work. Whatever happens at your mom's place stays. Whatever happens in the car stays. And at the end, you will be very good because your wife will feel she is less than a wife. She will always feel she is not equal to you, and you will be quite distant from each other. And at the end of the day, your marriage life will be destroyed. Number 9, please keep arguing and make sure you win every argument. Because when you win every argument, your wife will feel down and small and less than you. And that will make her resentful and your marriage will be ruined. Is that what you want? If the answer is yes, then make sure you win every argument. You want to buy a certain car and she wants a different car, you are always right. And you have to win the type of car you know. She wants to take the kid to public school and you said private school, you have to win. And the kid has to go to private school. You want to go to a cruise and she wants to go to a certain type of other resorts. At the end of the day, you will win and you have to go to the cruise. Win every argument because she is ignorant or he is ignorant. He doesn't know anything. So you're always right. You're always more knowledgeable. You always can win. You always have to argue. And when you argue, you put him in his place and you never allow him to win an argument. Believe me, this is a very fast track to destroying your marriage. Next. I want you to say the D word often. And when you say the D word often, your marriage will be destroyed sooner. What I'm talking about. The D is for divorce. The wife that keeps saying, I want divorce, I want divorce, I want divorce, she will get divorce. Even if she doesn't get it in the court or by the church, she will be symbolically divorced because life is ruined, because you kept talking about it. And the D word became so easy. Your husband keeps saying, I'm going out, I'm leaving, and he keeps threatening, I'm separating, I'm divorcing, I don't want to stay with you anymore. Keep saying this and your marriage will be destroyed. One of the worst things that can make destruction of marriage is repeating the divorce word repeatedly and often and becoming very easy, as if we don't know what God have done with us. He made us like one, inseparable. No way you can sever us. No way you can sever us. Similar to the Siamese twins, that they are born with, connected with a spinal cord or a brain. You cannot cut one from the other. Both will die. When you keep repeating the D word, you are in fast track to ruining your marriage. Successful way to ruin your marriage by repeating the D word. One of the things about the D word is not just to do it, but threatening it. I'm going to divorce you if you keep doing this. I'm going to leave you if you keep doing this. I'm going to stay away. I'm going to go a different state if you do this. How many times we hear it, and believe me, at the end it happens, because it became so easy on the mouth and on the brain and later on the heart. You are destroying your marriage by repeating the D word. One other point before I summarize: always play the role of a saint. Always play the role of the victim. You are the victim. Your husband is always leaving you alone, and you don't have enough money. You're taking care of the kids, and all the other women are doing this and doing their hair and doing their nails and going out and doing gym and doing this, and you don't, and keep playing it in your head until you become angry at your husband, and you will be in a fast track to destroy your marriage, because you are nursing the self-pitying. You keep playing on the string of that I am I am a martyr, I'm a saint, I'm so good, I don't do any bad thing. Why everybody against me? Why my husband is annoying? Why my wife is annoying? I'm just a saint, I do everything, I'm a martyr. Who knows? Maybe you're not. You telling yourself that. But what does God say about you? Are you a martyr? Are you a saint? In the eyes of who? I love when we read in Luke 2 that Zacharias and Elizabeth were righteous in the eyes of God. By the way, in the eyes of people, they are not that righteous, because he's almost 100 years old and he didn't have a child. And back then, that was like shameful. But in the eyes of God, Zacharias and Elizabeth were righteous and blameless in the eyes of God. Who? You are saying you are a martyr? You saying you are perfect and you are a victim and you feel bad because everybody against you? Says who? If you keep playing this martyrdom game, you will be more into that line of destroying your marriage. One other thing that can destroy our marriage: put your work and bring your work at home. Make your work everything in your life. Work at home, study at home, don't play with the kids, don't talk to your wife, stay in the computer, stay in the phone. Good for you. You are getting there, almost there to destroy your marriage. Go for it. My brothers and sisters, I feel bad because I'm never really speaking about negatives that much. But I decided to speak only about negatives today. Hopefully, that will awaken the positives. The positives is what will unite us and bring our children to heaven and get us closer to God. We have resembled the world so much, and our married life became similar to the worldly ones because we want to be like them. The wives are looking at so many media and movies and clips and seeing and feeling bad for themselves that they are not as good as these women. So they start becoming different and they want to destroy their marriage without knowing. Husbands are comparing themselves with other men who may have outside marriage relationships and have certain cars and certain money and certain lack of ethics. And all of a sudden, our men are not becoming the true fathers and the true husbands that the church and God want. I want to go back and make them all in positives before I make you learn from me some of the negatives. Before I go, there is one question that came, so at least I answer everything. My husband and I have been seeing a counselor for over a year. Some days he's good and other days he's like a madman. One thing triggers another and he starts to bring out all the things from the past. I have been trying to reserve. My husband, I have addressed it to him, but he refuses to seek help. I have offered we both get checked out. So my understanding that your husband and you were getting help, and some days are good, and then other days you describe him as madman. And he brings out all the things from the past, and all of a sudden you cannot control all of this, and you are saying it's emotionally draining. So I think the idea of seeing a counselor is very good. I think you should continue. I hope it's a Christian counselor. But number two, and I'm not trying to be giving a sermon here. When was the last time you both had communion together? You went to the liturgy and you stayed together and had communion together and went to breakfast together. Sometimes we are so eager to get psychology help and we don't get the Holy Spirit help. The Holy Spirit have united you both. So if you haven't prayed together, especially in liturgy, especially in communion, one of those early masses that not a lot of people there, that you can go together and leave together without so many people saying hi and bye and all of that. Please also make sure you are not ignoring the spiritual door. Number three, I am not sure, occasionally there are some of us who may have a psychiatric illness as well. I cannot really diagnosed from this. But your psychologist or your therapist may have to tell you, do we need medications? Can he be bipolar, for example? I don't know. And I don't want to expand on this because I don't want you to run with my diagnosis as if I knew anything. I'm not aware of the situation, but certainly something that has not been helped by counseling and went up and down, and without a cause. Sometimes we need to check if there is any other reason. How can I forgive my husband because he was talking to a lady without my knowledge for 3 years? I'm not able to forget. Every time I see that person, I'm getting angry and can't control my feelings, and I feel that I hate her. What's the solution? Number one, you cannot forget. I'm not asking you to forget. It's not human to forget. Okay? So forgiveness is also unhuman, but it's godliness within us. So, number one, I want you to pray, God, give me forgiveness. Because to forgive someone who helped your husband to have a relationship is very, very, very difficult. And I am with you on that. But I'm not asking you to forgive at your human level. Who are you to forgive? Only the person who was on the cross, who said, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they are doing. Ask for his help because he is within you through the body and blood of Christ, that he can help you to forgive. Forgetfulness is a grace. May happen, it may never happen. So number one, please pray that God gives you forgiveness. Number two, forgetfulness is not something you should expect. It's a matter of God's grace, and he will give it to you when he finds it suitable time. Number three, I don't understand why are you in the same church with this woman or the same environment with this woman. That, in my opinion, is the most wrong thing. Your husband had a weakness and he was talking to this woman. You have a weakness and you hate this woman. That's what you said. So why are we all in the same setting? And please don't tell me because, oh, there is no other churches. That doesn't happen in America. There are plenty of churches in every corner. Two, I am sure there are plenty of other groups of friends that you can be with. So 100%, I am disagreeing that you guys are maintaining a relationship with a person that your husband had some past weakness with him. Number four, and that's the last thing I want to say, I am not going to tell you this is easy. And if I say that, then I know nothing about your feelings. Definitely, this is the most difficult thing. And I will pray for you that God may give you grace to forget, but please ask God to help you forgive, because that's your part. Forgetfulness is not your part. You cannot delete a file from here. Doesn't work this way. Doesn't work. Okay? Only God, and he has no forgetfulness, decided to have a sea of forgetfulness, and no fishing is allowed. And he will say, I will take your sins and I will throw it in the sea of forgetfulness, and no one can fish them back. But we cannot do that at our level. We can forgive. With the God's grace, we can forgive. Forgetfulness, leave it to time, space, and distance. So with the last few minutes, I would like to summarize what I said and say the positive ones. Number one, if you want to ruin your marriage, be selfish. And if you want to build a successful marriage, be kind and generous. And put your wife before you. Put your husband before you. Make her feel she is more important and her needs are more essential than yours. Number two, dwell on the defects if you want to ruin your marriage. Focus and zoom and spotlight on the defects of your wife. But if you really want to build your marriage, look at the defects and say, but he has so many other great things. He's a great father. He's a kind man. He has a respectful career. Everybody likes him. He's a good servant. She is very organized. She's kind with the kids. She helps them. She teaches them God. So when she has a defect, oh, that's nothing compared to her ample number of virtues. Number 3, assume the worst if you want to ruin your marriage. Always assume the worst. Don't give excuses. Think that your husband is annoying you. Think that your wife is bothering you. But if you want to build your marriage, please give excuses. Give excuses. How many times per hour God is giving me excuses? I can give my partner in life and in heaven excuses. And if I were not to give excuses, why should I take excuses? Number 4, if you want to ruin your marriage, please refuse to forgive, because everyone, including your wife, is beneath you. So refuse to forgive, because if you forgive, she will take advantage of you, right? No, wrong. If you want to live a good life, learn how to forgive. There is a mathematical model that God brought up in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. He said, as much as you forgive, you will be forgiven. And he made several parables like that. If you forgive 100, you will be forgiven maybe 1,000. But if you forgive a 5, then you will be forgiven 5. But if you forgive 0, you will get 0. So if you want to really ruin your marriage, stop forgiving. Excuse me, I think I was told there is another question that came and I hate to finish without answering. Okay, no, I answered all these questions. So the next one is refuse to respect. You want to ruin your marriage? Refuse to respect. Always use aggressive words. Put down your husband or your wife. Speak down to them. Do not honor them or respect them. On the other hand, if you want to build your marriage, respect. Respect in front of people. Respect in front of the children. Respect in front of your in-laws. Respect in front of the priest. Number 6. You want to ruin your marriage? Stop being intimate. Make excuses that you are not ready and you have your period and you have headache, or you are angry at work and you have problems at work and your supervisor is annoying you. You will be good in ruining your marriage. If you want to build your marriage, please be intimate, because intimacy is not sinful. Intimacy is created by God. Intimacy is blessed by God. You are one body. You are not two bodies, and each body needs the other. So it's completely kind of you to be intimate to the other person. Number 7, you want to ruin your marriage? Keep blaming. Always blame your husband. Blame him on everything. Blame him on that he left the door open and the window is not shut and air condition is not high and the stove is not closed. And Blame him in everything. But if you really want to build your marriage, stop blaming, give excuses, be kind. Number 8, if you want to ruin your marriage, please be secretive and don't tell your spouse anything about your affairs. Be CIA. Confidentiality is absent. But if you really want to build, sit with your wife or your husband, tell them about what happened, tell them about the good and the bad, the strength and the weakness, the things that you are proud of and the things you are not proud of. But don't just be secretive. Number